I'm going to talk about 3 things that I think I've needed to do to my own brain in order to improve my skills in drawing. And my first thing on my list is all about hacking my eye so that I don't see what I think I see, but I actually see what I really see. And one way to really get better at seeing what I see and not what I think I see is to look at shapes in negative spaces and stop seeing the figure, stop seeing the person, and actually see the shapes. So I've got some weird kind of triangular shape here, and I just try to think of what I could fit into there. I think of the shape that this space here creates, and I look at the space between the fingers instead of looking at the fingers. Just really trying to hack that connection from my eyes to my brain and not see the figure but see the shapes. And I find it such a useful way to start becoming better at getting my proportions in, and also better at just composition and seeing things more as a whole. So I've got, let me just check how we're going. So I always need a little bit of texture, so I'm just gonna throw in some of my marker pen. Got this Funcil Black Acrylic marker. Just gonna get some of those energetic, chaotic lines in. Just create a bit of chaos, a lovely, delightful chaos. Let me just see, I just realized this paper isn't, I haven't fastened it, but I need to fasten it, otherwise once I start using my sponges on there, it will go everywhere. Just use a little bit of kneaded eraser to hold my paper in place. I'm not too worried about marks and lines because this is practice, and if I use this as a collage, I often end up cutting away quite a lot of this as well. But my next step is to take my take the pen pastel here, and just really try to block in quite quickly where I want the figure to be. Just putting this down almost as kind of a lump of clay, and then I will sculpt into it and tease the figure out of here after I have just put this raw material down. Got a bit of a ghostly figure showing up there. I've got this sponge from Pan Pastel, and I like the marks it makes. It gives me some kind of smoky feelings. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of movement, a little bit of something expressive. And then I want to go on to my next tool, which is the soft tool from Pan Pastel, and just start to get some of the details into this that will describe the face and the figure. I'm still just trying to keep my wrist quite loose. So the first bit on my list that I wanted to share with you is this idea of looking at shapes and spaces and just getting out of your idea of what you see into what you actually see. And I use this all throughout. So I at this stage I start to look at shapes within the picture of just, oh, there's maybe a bit of triangle there, and I start to add that in. Again, I just want it to be loose. There's a bit of a dip in here. I feel like I'm sculpting. It feels a bit like clay. And I've got some dark area over here. Just getting that down. Kind of just trying to do this with a little bit of speed so that it becomes more and more loose as I keep practicing doing the same, using the same reference photo or reference drawing. There's some dark parts around here, and he's got this lovely kind of incognito shade here around the eye, which is what I really liked about this pose, that his face is so kind of got this lovely anonymity about it. But on the second point on my list that I wanted to share with you today is something I've learned to do, which I will label as hacking my vision. And this is about unlocking, getting out of this idea of trying to create a finished result, and instead starting to think of your goal as the practice itself. And one of the ways that I've actually hacked my brain there, and I really had to work quite hard on it, because I found myself really getting stuck in wanting to create a finished result that I could sell, because I was motivated by the need for survival, which is very understandable, but it's just not what it just really counteracts art. There's something in trying to create a finished thing that just really stumbles you in the process of developing as an artist. So the way I hacked myself in that way, in that area, was to start to do this YouTube thing, because that way I could allow myself to kind of practice, and the practice by putting it out as a video, I could then find another way to create without having to be motivated by trying to make a finished artwork. And I think whichever way you could find that would work for you. And if it works for you, just to tell yourself, I'm actually just going to practice, and it doesn't matter if this works out or not, if this turns into a finished artwork or not, doesn't matter. And I find that it really doesn't often turn into a finished artwork for me, but when I just keep creating and keep flowing, I end up with quite a lot of raw material, and I find myself later down the line starting to use these in collages and develop new work out of what I've got from this work. But thankfully I wasn't motivated by trying to finish something and then getting tripped up by that. And that kind of really freed up, this really freed up my process to find a way of keeping myself practicing without the pressure of everything has to be finished or become something really great. So the head here comes up in front of the arm a little bit, and the finger, the thumb comes out here. I think I might maybe put this in a little fast. It needs to come out a little further. And so it's been really important for me to get around this obstacle, this internal obstacle of trying to always create something finished and sellable. And I found in the past that the things I sold I were hardly ever created with that motivation. I think if ever that I've sold anything that was more out of a place of trying to survive as an artist rather than actually flowing with it and just being free with it. So that's been really important for me to bypass that. But I think it's easy for us to get this fixation on trying to get a finished thing that we like, and then if it doesn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, well, it's taken some work, some inner work for me to learn that this is really a huge part of the process of like having loads of them turn out how I, in a way that afterwards I think that didn't really work out, and just being okay with that, really allowing myself that freedom. But also something that I seem to be coming back to a lot, and I want to mention today as well, is the importance of discovering who you are, who you really are, discovering your inner voice, your intuition, and discovering your intuition is something that I think is just it must be done for any human in their lifetime. They need it, we need it, and it can look a lot different in different people if you're wired different ways, but the chances I think that you are wired a little bit like me is quite high. But please do let me know if you are. But I'm definitely somebody who is quite sensitive, and I feel things quite intensely, and so I think part of the reason why I draw is to find a quiet space and kind of escape that a little bit, but also meditate in the process and just allow my intuition to be completely in charge. And my intuition is the part of me that is making all of the creative decisions. It just kind of decides, and it just feels good to have a space to allow that intuition just to have free reign and just do what it wants to do. I think it's just really important. But in the process of unlocking this part of myself, I really had to hack my idea of cool. I don't know if this makes any sense to you at all, but I think I often found that the idea of wanting to be cool, trying to be cool, or dismissing my ideas because they're not cool enough or seemingly intelligent enough, and in fact my idea didn't come from the intelligence part of myself. They come from the heart. I think they come from my intuition. So I always had this idea that in order to be cool, you gotta be intelligent. In order to be intelligent, your ideas have to start up in the brain. And I've talked about this quite a few times on here before, but I really had to hack my idea of cool, and I think you also do learn that over a lifetime, that actually the true amazing art never came from somebody trying to be cool or to be validated by any institutions. Amazing art always came from something much deeper than that, from actually a place of truth, I think. And that's what I want to encourage you to find, that within yourself, to discover the truth about who you are. I think we are often really dismissive of who we really are, because we think we've got this preconceived idea that whatever we are, whoever we are, it's probably not good enough, and this is such a hindrance. So lately I've been working a little bit with my children on just kind of unlocking a little bit of who they are. And we were talking about animals that we identify with, and it was really funny because all of a sudden my daughter said to me, and mind you, this is all done in a bit of a prayerful atmosphere as well, because I'm a big fan of prayer and faith in God. And so we were praying about these things and trying to ask for some revelation into who we are, because I really want my children to know the voice of their intuition, and to know that who they are, and that is actually their most amazing gift that they've got for the world, to give to the world, and to enjoy for themselves. And so my daughter, she said to me, she saw a picture of a dolphin for me digging into the seafloor. And I just found it so extraordinary, because I had actually completely forgotten that as a child, my favorite animal was the dolphin. I absolutely loved dolphins. I was always drawing them and always dreaming about becoming a diver. And I just thought I wanted to encourage you today to kind of just remember what you loved as a child, because this was quite a discovery for me, actually, for my daughter to connect me back to my own childhood self. It was a bit of a revelation, and I just thought it would be cool to encourage you also just to remember what you loved as a child, what you loved to do, and see if those things actually would reveal something to you about who you are, who you really are, when nobody's watching. It seemed to do that for me, actually. It was quite a really positive experience. I wanted to share a little story on that note. Let me just see how long this session is getting. Yeah, I'll just quickly share this little story with you. Last year I was working on a picture, and I kept just having this desire. I wanted to put butterflies on the thing, and I realized at some point I kept putting the brakes on with myself for some reason, that it was this idea of cool that was getting in the way, that this wasn't intellectual enough. I'm clearly drawn to butterflies because they are beautiful and it just didn't seem profound enough to me, so I was trying to put the brakes on with myself for that reason. But once I realized where that was coming from, I had the moment of, actually, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna allow that child version of myself to come out in my art. I think it's really important, and that I did. And this picture sold, and I think it was particularly the butterflies that were the thing that drew the viewer, the buyer. And actually I had another couple that wanted to buy the same picture, and I had to create, and I ended up doing a commission of the same picture again. And I just, the best feedback I got from that picture was this son of one of my friends who said he really liked the one with the butterflies, and he wanted to buy that, which I just found so touching. And the best feedback that you can get, I think, is from children. And about the butterflies, I'm also keep having this picture of this particular pose here, but sort of breaking out into butterfly wings. So I think at some point I'm going to create a collage with him and butterfly wings in honoring my child, my inner child, and my true authentic self, which I think is everything when it comes to this process I'm in here. It's all about discovering and trusting that inner guidance, that gentle inner voice that just kind of says, let's go this way, why don't you try some butterflies? And it just draws you with inspiration and kindness. And apologies for my growling stomach here. That inner voice, which I would say otherwise known as God. Other people might know it as their spirit guide or their higher self, but I like to think of this voice as God. But I think it's for me, it's all about developing a trust and a relationship to that. There's quite a lot more detail I would like to put into this picture, but I think I don't want to make this too long, so I'm gonna stop here. Thank you so much for staying with me for this long, listening to what I had to say. I just want to encourage you to ask yourself the question, what was there anything in your childhood that got you really excited about being alive? What do you like? What do you really truly like when nobody is watching? What kind of music? Who are you when nobody else is around? Hope you have a really nice drawings. I hope you've had a really nice drawing session with this, and that you will come back for some more drawing sessions, talks, art chats with me, because I've got a lot more coming, and I'm excited to continue with this process of just developing, drawing, and working in this in between portrait and gesture art. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, I would be so happy if you did. And yeah, if you leave me a comment, that's always gold for me, because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm all about. So I love to hear from you, what works, what doesn't work. Take care. Bye.